I want to react to this shit with you guys. Obviously, the interview is an hour long, so we won't be watching the whole thing, but I do have some clips that we can go over. This interview, I've reacted to some Kamala stuff recently on stream, but holy shit, dude, this like book tour type beat that she's been on recently is actually giving me brain cancer. I can't I'm sorry, but if I have to see it, so do you guys. So we're gonna watch.
About I think.
Oh my God,
Madam Vice President, I have to ask you about the point, the part of your book that has people most upset thus far. Which is some of your writing about the decision around the president abandoning his reelection campaign, the timing there and how it was handled. You say in part, page 46, it's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision.
Yeah, so basically in her new book, Kamala Harris flat out admits, literally just says, like, yeah, hey, I knew that Biden should have dropped out earlier than he did, and I didn't fucking say anything for my personal career choices. Just because I didn't want to. Because it would have been, like, awkward or, like, bad for me in my career. Just flat out admitting it. And, dude, when I say that fucking people like Maddow and, like, MSNBC and, like, mainstream liberal outlets are glazing this shit as if it's a good thing, they're calling it candid, it's insane. You need to see the shit.
Whose decision should that have been? How should that decision have been made?
So when I write this, it's because I realize that I have and had a certain responsibility that I should have followed through on.
Like, even if you believe this, right? Even if you believe that she has had some come to Jesus moment where she realizes what she did was fucked up, even if that sells to you, how can you trust her now? Like, obviously, this whole book thing and this commentary on the election and shit is she's positioning herself for 2028, right? I think that's obvious. Everybody's sort of speculating that that's what she's going to end up doing, right? It would be silly if she didn't at least try, right? And so even if you buy her narrative where she suddenly has had a change of heart, right? Doesn't that just mean that she's like a grifter? Like, isn't that just her admitting she can't be trusted? I don't understand how she expects people to buy that.
Which is, and so when I talk about the recklessness, as much as anything, I'm talking about myself. There was so much, as we know, at stake. And as I write, you know, the where my head was at the time is that it would come off as being completely self-serving.
If you said to President Biden that you did not think he should run again.
Yeah.
I knew it would come off as self-serving to ask the president to step down. So what I did instead was the self-serving choice of letting down the entire country instead.
Yeah, or even that he should question whether it's a good idea. But I think that, you know, one of the reasons I wrote this book, Rachel, is there are actually a number of reasons. One, that it is unprecedented, right? To your point of what you said in your opening, we had a president of the United States running for...
Okay, it was unprecedented. That doesn't mean the decision was hard. It was really black and white. You just fucked up. Like, you need to just own that, man. You can't hide behind, like, oh, well, you know, it was a difficult time. Like, that had never happened before. It's like, dude, it's really easy. Everyone fucking knew it. And this is something that people on the outside of, like, Democratic insiders might not see, but literally all of them knew about Biden's mental decline. All of them. Every single last one of them knew months before the general public did. Fucking Jake Tapper from CNN wrote a book about it while it was happening and chose to wait till after the election to share that information because he wanted it for his book. These people believe in nothing. They don't give a fuck about you, dude.
For re-election, 3.5 months from the election, decides not to run. The sitting vice president enters the race against a former president of the United States who's been running for 10 years with 107 days to go. And it ended up being the closest presidential election in the 21st century. And there was so much about those 107 days that, for me, and this is really a behind-the-scenes look at those 107 days, was about seeing people who seemingly had nothing in common coming together by the thousands with a level of optimism and, dare I say, joy about the possibilities for America. And I
yeah,
hope
it's because Biden was extremely unpopular, and at that point, people were just like, "I'll fucking take anything." Yeah, sure, Kamala. I don't give a fuck. Just not him. That's why. I mean, nobody was actually excited that it was Kamala. They were just excited that it wasn't Joe fucking Biden.
Remind people about that light that people brought to it, and to remind people that that light is still there.
Do you guys remember when you liked me? Remember that? Hey, remember when we liked each other? And hey, remember the coconut meme? Remember? That was me. You guys loved that one, right? Please vote for me in 2028. Please, God.
And we can't let that be extinguished by an election or the individual who's in the office right now. Because to the point of all those folks who got out and protest about the Kimmel suspension.
And about everything else that people have protested.
Right. In the variety of ways, whether it be going to a protest or being, with their pocketbook or getting engaged in local and state and federal elections, they'll make a difference. And they've made a difference. And I guess the last point is that we've got to really remember that this person who's in the White House promised a whole lot of people who supported him and voted for him that he would do one thing, which is bring down costs and prices. And he lied to them. And we need to remember that as we move forward with the next series of elections.
Actually, I don't even know if I agree with that. Donald Trump ran on tariffs. He ran on shit that would make the economy worse. Like, he was very kind of candid about the fact, like, he was literally saying, like, yeah, there might be some hardship, but in a long run, it'll be worth it. Like, he was saying that shit. Obviously, every politician says prices are going to be lower under my administration. Every politician says that shit. But in terms of how honest he was being about his policies, he kind of was being pretty honest. He was like, yes, I'm going to destroy the economy and it'll be great. And it'll be great because it'll also happen to brown people. And, like that, he wasn't lying. He wasn't being dishonest at all.
Terms are around the corner. That it's not just about him by himself. There were others around him who perpetuated that same promise and have not followed through. They're about to go into negotiations around the continuing resolution, the budget. And I know that leaders Schumer and Jeffries are going to meet with the president, I think in the Oval Office. And good for them to go there and ask Donald Trump, the president of the United States, to justify why he is proposing to cut Medicaid. Why he is willing to shut...
Good for them for doing something that doesn't fucking matter because none of the right actually gives a shit. Really?
...down the government for the sake of putting on the backs of working people the tax cut he gave to the richest people in America.
Isn't she lovely, dude? Hold on. I have a couple of other clips from this interview that I want to show. Because, like, it's so frustrating, but also it's so, like, it's such a great example of how cooked the Democrats are. I love it.
Well, let me ask you a politics question. I mentioned in the intro tonight that you say in the book really bluntly that your personal first choice for your running mate would have been Pete Buttigieg, and you praise him effusively. You say he would.
So obviously she didn't pick Buttigieg. She picked Tim Walz, and she'll explain why.
Would have been an ideal partner if I were a straight man. And you say effectively that demographically it was too much to ask of the American people to ask them to elect you with him as your running mate. I wonder if his reaction to that, since this part of the book has come out, if you've had any reflection on that, or I guess I'd ask you to just elaborate on that a little bit. It's hard to hear.
So yes. So she is literally saying, God, I fucking love politics, man. She is literally saying that the American people were not ready for a ticket with both a brown woman and a gay man, like on the same ticket. That essentially there is sort of a threshold tolerance that the American people have to diversity, and that Kamala is good. Like diversity is good when it comes to her, but not Pete Buttigieg. like the American people have a limited number of diversity bucks that they can spend on the candidates that they elect, and if Kamala and Pete Buttigieg are on the same ticket, that's too many diversity bucks, and it's a bust. They can't be on the same ticket, so she went with Walz. Yeah, DEI for me and not for thee, head ass.
Yeah.
With you running as, you're the first woman elected vice president. You're a black woman and a South Asian woman elected to that high office, very nearly elected president. To say that he couldn't be on the ticket effectively because he was gay is hard to hear.
No. That's not what I said.
Come on. Yeah, it is.
That he couldn't be on the ticket because he is gay. My point, as I write in the book, is that I was clear that in 107 days, in one of the most hotly contested elections for president of the United States, against someone like Donald Trump, who knows no floor, to be a black woman running for president of the United States and as a vice presidential running mate, a gay man, with the stakes being so high, it made me very sad, but I also realized it would be a real risk.
So I'm not saying that he couldn't be on the ticket because he was gay. It was just that his gayness was a risk to me. And so I didn't put him on the ticket. Those are two completely different statements, dude.
No matter how.
Also, just for the record, Tim Walz, way better pick than Buttigieg. I would pick him 10 times out of 10 over Buttigieg any day of the week. I loved that pick. It was one of my favorite things she did during her campaign.
I've been an advocate and an ally of the LGBT community my entire life. So it wasn't about any.
Guys, I have gay friends, low key. Like, I have gay friends. Like, it's not like that.
Any prejudice on my part, but
that
we had such a short period of time, and the stakes were so high. I think Pete is a phenomenal public servant.
He's just a little too gay. I'm sorry. Dude, it's just the identity politics with these fucking people kills me, man. It fucking wrecks me. It's so funny to watch them like try and legitimize choices they made. Oh my God. It's so funny.
And I think America is and would be ready for that. But when I had to make
just not last year. This year, it's different, right? America's ready now. They're definitely ready now. They're just not, they weren't, 1 year ago. It was a different time.
That decision with 2 weeks to go, and maybe I was being too cautious.
And this is why I reject when people say that, oh, she's like doing the whole candid thing now. This is not candid. This is such like a bold-faced, like performative lie to try and save face. And honestly, I think she's trying to fucking shaft Tim Walz here too. I think she's trying to sandbag him a little bit, if I'm being fucking honest with you. Because she didn't even say his name in this interview yet. She didn't even say his name. She's talking more about Pete Buttigieg than her actual running mate.
I'll let our friends, we should all talk about that. Maybe I was. But that's the decision I made. And I, as with everything else in the book, I'm being very candid about that.
Yeah.
That's not candid. You are making a post hoc rationalization, probably from the brain of some fucking consultant that you know. That's not candid at all.
With a great deal of sadness about also the fact that it might have been a risk.
Will you consider running in 2028?
That's not my focus right now.
I know
it's not my focus at all.
I know
it really isn't.
Oh, come on. Yes, it is, dude. She's such a liar, dude. I mean, they all are, but holy shit. Like, at least say something like, I don't know. I haven't thought about it, but I'm keeping my options open. Like, at least say some shit like that. You know, I thought you wanted to get the ball rolling for 2028. You know what I mean? She already announced that she's not running for California governor. How much more confirmation do you need?
I'm just going to.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're not considering it now, but are you saying, when you decided you're not going to run for governor of California?
Correct.
Were you saying you are never going to run for anything ever again, or were you just saying, I'm not going to run for that office right now?
That was the decision before me, and I made the decision not to run for governor of California. By the way, there are a lot of great candidates running, and I love my state, and we want somebody to definitely follow in the footsteps of Gavin in terms of standing up.
Like, what a nothing fucking non-answer. You know? Like, she can't... I hate that people are calling this candid, because it comes across as so disingenuous and, like, coached. It really does.
And understanding the power that California has to stand up to what we're saying in D.C.
As politic as you are being in those remarks, you are...
Like, even Maddow is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's such a bullshit answer. Even she's like, come on now, girl.
Beautifully impolitic in this book in a way that makes it honest and, as I said, candid, fun to read, and I think really important. I think it is blunt and true, and I commend you for writing it and for being willing to go out there and defend it and talk about it in these blunt terms at a time we need some real straight talk.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's not all, folks. I have these clips out of order, I guess. But there's more to this.
Let me talk to you about this capitulation thing.
Yep.
This really landed with me. I feel like we're all in the middle of it, but you articulating it in the way that you do, you've become the patron saint of I told you so, in terms of people understanding the sort of warnings and predictions that you made about what Trump would be like. But you say, I predicted all...
You know who else? You know who else made a shit ton of predictions about what Trump would be like and pretty much called every shot of the Trump administration? Donald Trump. Wasn't a hard call when he's literally saying, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Hey, you know what? They even wrote like a 400-page book called Project 2025 that said, here's every bad thing we're going to do. Here's all of it. They wrote an entire novel saying point by point all the shit they're doing right now. Not a tough shot to call, if I'm being real with you.
That I warned of it. What I didn't predict was the capitulation. The billionaires lining up to grovel, the big media companies, universities, so many major law firms, I will note, including your husband's.
Yeah, and he spoke out about it.
He's been very vocal and criticized.
Like, this is like, this is why I hate, like, the liberal brain poison. Why would you not expect corporations to fold under government pressure? Why would you not expect them to do that? It only has happened every single time it's been tried anywhere in the world. Jesus. Like it's a level of, like, it's a lack of knowledge that should be like, you shouldn't be able to get to where Kamala is in her career without knowing that. It's that bad and basic.
It. You said they've all been bending to blackmail and outrageous demands.
Yeah.
Why did you not predict the capitulation? And what do you make of the effort to try to put some steel in the spine of those institutions?
So, as you know, I am a lifelong public servant. And but I've worked closely with the private sector over many years. And I always believed that if push came to shove, those titans of industry would be guardrails for our democracy, for the importance of sustaining democratic institutions.
Like, why? That's so stupid. Like, they're literally the thing that causes, like, fascist backsliding is corporations. Like, historically, that's the thing that does that. And she's like, I mean, I always just thought that, like, corporations would, like, ignore, they would sort of just, like, ignore pressure from the government to do certain stuff because, like, they believe they have morals, right? Like, corporate, like, when I think of corporations, I think decently moral, full of integrity, that kind of stuff, right? Right, guys?
And one by one, they have been silent. They have been, yes, I use the word feckless. It's not like they're going to lose their yacht or their house in the Hamptons.
But when you see the Trump administration applying pressure on these corporations and saying, like, hey, you can't do your multi-billion-dollar merger that you want to do or whatever the fuck unless you fillet me politically. What on God's fucking green earth makes you think that corporations would all of a sudden just grow a backbone and oppose that? What about your political education is so fraught with holes and fucking liberal, stupid, fucking brain poison politics that makes you believe this? I have to know, because either you're lying here and you're trying to, like, make a point, or you're actually stupid. It's one of those.
And here's the thing. Democracy sustains capitalism.
It burns. Guys, it burns. Guys, did you know that water sustains fire in a way? Did you know that? I just learned that today. Holy shit. Democracy sustain... I can't act... Like, these are our politicians, bro. They know less about politics than fucking I do. It's insane. Democracy sustains capitalism? What the fuck are you on about? What about democracy is inherently capitalistic? Or vice versa? What about capitalism is inherently democratic? When you see an authoritarian push for power and corporations are implicated in that authoritarian power grab, what about that makes you think that they are betraying the principles of capitalism when they do that? They're not. They're acting in their own rational self-interest. That's called capitalism. Jesus fuck.
Capitalism thrives in a democracy. And right now we are dealing with, as I called him at my speech on the ellipse, a tyrant. We used to compare the strength of our democracy to communist dictators. That's what we're dealing with right now in Donald Trump. And
oh my God, Donald Trump is a communist. Oh my God. These people are fucking idiots, man. Donald Trump is a communist dictator. Glory to the People's Republic of MAGA. Oh my god, dude. Seriously? That's your fucking analysis? Holy shit, dude. Holy shit. Donald Trump is a communist dictator. Oh my god. And these are the people that won't say the word fascist, by the way. They will take years to finally call it what it is, which is fascism, but instantly will invoke communist to describe what is obviously a right-wing, capitalist, authoritarian administration. Like, oh my god.
Titans of industry are not speaking up. And perhaps it is...
Why the fuck would they? Why would they? They like a money. They like a money, so they do a capitulation. That's it. That's what capitalism is, man. They want to do a merger because capital inevitably tends towards monopoly. We know this, right? Marxist theory, holla at ya boy. They want to do their merger. Government says, no, unless you do what I say. And they say, okay, because they don't care. What about the structure of a corporation makes you think it is immune to those pressures? Democracy and capitalism are inherently in conflict with one another, right? Because capitalism is about consolidation. And, conveniently enough, so is fascism. So is authoritarianism. So are people like Trump, right? Their interest is in the consolidation of power and resources, just like corporations under capitalism. Democracy and capitalism are not complementary forces. They are antagonistic to each other. They are inherently in conflict with one another. Democracy is the disestablishment of hierarchy. Capitalism is the maintenance of them. You cannot have purely one without the destruction of the other. That's it.
Because his threats and the way he has used the weight of the federal government to take out vengeance on his critics is something that they fear, and I get that. I understand why they do. We've seen the demonstration of it. Perhaps it is because they want to please him and nominate him for a Nobel Prize. Perhaps it's because they want a merger approved, or they want...
Yes. It's about capital. Yes. That is what they're doing. Yeah. Literally, and this is the thing, too. Of course, yes, the Trump administration is fascist, right? But they still operate within the bounds of what is possible in our systems, right? And because of that, they've taken a lot of L's, right? I mean, they've had some W's, let's be real, but they've taken a lot of L's because we have institutions and shit that are, propped up by our democracy. Those things are tight. I'm not knocking those things, right? The law, the Constitution, shit like that. Great. When it comes to corporate, the Trump administration has had most of its W's as a consequence of corporations. Corporations are what are handing Trump most of his W's. When it comes to the public sector, like the courts and law and shit like that, with the exception of the Supreme Court, which is mostly conservative, Trump's not doing too hot. But when it comes to threatening corporations and individual actors who want to preserve their bottom line, he's fucking the LeBron of fascism, okay? And this has been true in every authoritarian regime to ever exist, okay? Because at the end of the day, what corporations are, what a business is an entity that is able to consolidate resources and power. And inherently, fascists are drawn to that as a means to accomplish things, right? They utilize corporations and their influence and their resources in order to enact their agenda. And likewise, corporations utilize fascists to get what they want, i.e., mergers, i.e., cheaper labor, shit like that, right? So the relationship between corporations, i.e., capitalism, and fascism is actually much more complementary than the relationship between corporations, i.e., capitalism, and democracy, because those two are conflicting forces. Corporations and fascism are complementary forces. They want the same things. That is why Kamala is wrong here. And honestly, that should be so obvious to somebody who's been in politics as long as she has, that either she is lying and hoping that like the average American or the average MSNBC watcher is too stupid to realize that, or she is just that stupid. That's it.
Avoid an investigation, but at some point, they've got to stand up for the sake of...
Why do they have to? Why? They want their billions of dollars. What incentive do they have to stand up to an authoritarian government? What incentive is there?
The people who rely on all of these institutions to have integrity and to, at some point, be the guardrails.
This is, and I know I overuse the term brain poison, but it really is, because the only way you can arrive at this belief is that if you believe in the absurd claim that under threat, each individual actor within a corporation will simultaneously choose to work against their own short-term best interests, and all of a sudden, like, magically have a sense of integrity and be like, wait, what I'm doing is morally wrong. I can't do that. And then, like, everybody, like, rides off into the sunset, I guess. Like, that's what you have to actually believe in order to talk like this. It's insane.
Against a tyrant who is using the federal government to execute his whim and fancy because of a fragile ego.
It's literally, okay, it's not a fragile fucking ego that Trump is doing this, though. It's an authoritarian consolidation of power through threatening corporations with financial consequences if they don't go. It's not an ego thing. It's a power thing. They just want power. What? Like, they have to frame everything through like a lens of like personal insecurity or some shit. Dude, they're just fundamentally power seekers. That's it. Like, it doesn't have to be some like grand like pathological insecurity. It can just be that they are evil people, right? It can sometimes just be that. I don't know why we have to frame it through a lens of like, oh, you know what I think it is? I think Trump's insecure about his tiny dick and his small hands. That's probably it. Yeah, he's probably insecure about the fact that he's orange. Have you guys ever noticed he looks like a Cheeto? It's like, dude, come on, man. Anyway, I got one more of Kamala. Let's see. Oh, yeah, this is her talking about Mamdani. I'm excited to see this. I haven't seen this. You
describe in the book something that you called a secret project that you ran as vice president, that you called the STARS Project, identifying up-and-coming talent in the Democratic Party. You'd meet with them, ask them about their interests. You say that more than one of them said they felt like they were being called to the principal's office when you asked them to come in. But the folks who you met with in this way include some of the people who you see very frequently now on MSNBC: Jasmine Crockett, Angela Alsobrooks, Maxwell Frost, Robert Garcia Moore. Arguably the fastest rising star right now in Democratic politics.
Not arguably. Objectively is. Objectively is, baby.
Is Zoran Mamdani, who is going to be elected mayor of New York City, and probably in a landslide if the polls are anything to go by. Lots of mainline Democrats have been very shy about his candidacy. They seem somewhat flummoxed by his success. As a sort of talent spotter in the Democratic Party, what do you think of him and his candidacy? And what do you think of mainline Democratic shyness and agitation about the prospect that he's going to win?
All right, let's see what she says, guys. Okay? Because keep in mind, these are the types of people that say vote blue no matter who. Whoever the nominee is, we have to support them. These are the types of people that would shame you if you didn't enthusiastically support Biden. If you didn't enthusiastically support Hillary or Kamala. These are the types of people that would say, wow, we need a big tent. It doesn't matter what their beliefs are if they're the nominee. You gotta get behind them. Let's see what she says.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, he's the Democratic nominee and he should be supported.
Do you endorse his candidacy?
I support the Democrat in the race, sure. But let me just...
What a feckless piece of shit, dude. She can't even be like, yes, I support him. She has to be like, I guess. Fuck you, dude.
Say this. He's not the only star. I know that,
like immediately shifting the focus off of Mamdani onto other people. Fucking immediately. Holy fuck. Yeah, sure, I endorse him. But look at these other people.
He's in New York, and I know New Yorkers think they're the center of the world, and here we are in New York.
Okay, come on. New York is objectively the center of the world. Like, it's like the financial capital, essentially, of the entire planet. Yeah, it is. Mamdani's a big deal. Let's put it that way.
Having this interview.
He's objectively the most popular Democrat in the country right now. I mean, even Kamala Harris doesn't have his sauce.
It's the biggest city in the country.
And I love New York, as the saying goes. I really do. But, I mean, there are people like Barbara Drummond in Mobile, Alabama.
Dude, Barbara Drummond? Wait, didn't she just lose? Didn't she just... In February 2025, hold up. In February 2025, Drummond announced her candidacy for mayor of Mobile, Alabama, and she advanced to the runoff election, placing first with 33%. She lost the runoff to Republican Spiro Chiriogodis. She already lost? I need to know. She was probably a shitty Democrat, too. Oh my god, that's so funny, dude. Yeah, I know. I know that New Yorkers like to pretend that they're the center of the world, but let's shift focus for a second to this fucking loser from goddamn bumfuck. That's what we need to be talking about. I mean, have you seen this shit?
Helena Moreno in New Orleans. They're all running for mayor too, and they are stars. So I hope that
Oh, they're also fucking losers, probably.
We don't so over-index on New York City that we lose sight of the stars throughout our country.
So this is exactly how she answers the question, by the way. Instead of just saying, yes, I support him, we should support him, she goes, I guess, because he's the Democrat, and then immediately implies that we shouldn't be talking about him, basically. She's basically saying, don't ask me about him. I won't talk about him, basically. That's what she's doing by shifting focus to other people.
Right now running for mayor and many other offices, governor and so on. So that's where I am. We got a big tent and we got a lot of...
Curious. Then why can't you wholeheartedly endorse Zoran Mamdani for mayor of New York City? If the tent's so big, then he should fit in it, right? I mean, he's not that big of a guy. I think he's he's 5'8", I think, something like that.
Stars.
2026 is shaping up to be an election that is going to be filled with Democratic primaries, though. And a lot of mainline Democrats in their 70s and 80s are going to be facing challengers in their 30s.
Yeah.
As they fucking should. Good riddance to these goddamn geriatrics. Holy shit, dude. I will never forgive the Democrats, by the way, for ousting David Hogg after he said that we should start primarying these fucking ancient goddamn mummies who are in Congress. 3 of whom have actually died, by the way. We're short 3 Democrats because 3 of the fucking old people goddamn perished, dude. Literally died. And they threw David Hogg out of the fucking vice chair because he said that we should actually get people in office who people want in office and not just the same fucking people from the last 50 years of American politics.
Do you think Democrats are at all justified in their frustration with there being so many older Democrats in elected office? Do you think it is time for the oldest Democrats in elected office
I'm curious to see what she says here.
Be thinking kind of wholesale as a category about the need to retire and move on from office?
I wouldn't overgeneralize on that, meaning
oh my
that
God.
there are some Democrats who are, older in age, but very young in terms of how they are thinking. And
you said the same shit about Joe fucking Biden, didn't you? Jesus Christ, she doesn't believe in anything, dude. I love how in her book she's like, yeah, it was probably a pretty reckless decision to hide how out of touch and mentally incompetent Joe Biden was. So let me do that exact thing when it comes to the 2026 midterms. Like, she doesn't fucking give a shit, man.
very bold in terms of how they're thinking. I think that every one of the candidates is going to be judged based on whether they actually have a plan, whether they see the people, whether they're listening to them, whether they offer something that feels dynamic and bold, especially at this moment, whether they have...
If the incumbent Democrats can win on their own merits, then why did we oust David Hogg for suggesting that we primary these people? If they're such good candidates, if they're so young mentally, then why would being primaried by a 35-year-old be any threat to them, right? They would have the advantage, wouldn't they? So maybe we should just let that take its course, no?
The fight in them to fight what we know to be wrong, but also the fight to fight for something. I think that's how they're going to be judged. I don't know that the voters are going to judge strictly on somebody's age.
Dude, I can't stand these people, man. I think that's the last Kamala clip I'm going to look at. But holy shit, do you guys see what I mean? These people literally have no actual beliefs. They just care about like padding their resumes as much as fucking possible. Like whatever the highest like political office they think is attainable for them, they will pursue it relentlessly regardless of the ramifications for the country. They do not give a fuck about anything, dude. And they're so captured by corporations and consultants that they can't even like cross-endorse people of their own fucking party who actually want to make life better for the people that they represent. It's insane. The only politician that has any sauce right now is Zoran Mamdani. That's the only one that people actually like. And he's also the only one who can barely get a fucking endorsement from the Democrats to save his own life. And he's going to be mayor of the biggest city in the fucking world. I genuinely don't understand how you get so captured that you do politics this badly. It's insane. Oh my God. Oh.